Okay, I wanted to show you what I had mentioned in class today about using VLOOKUP to make your life a little easier on the project. And so what I have here is a table of W shapes, particularly the W12s, and I have it organized in a certain way. I have the shape lists in the first column, and then I have my data in the subsequent columns. So the overall point to mention at the beginning is that the labels of each shape are in the first column, and that's kind of important. Okay, and so the first thing I want to show you is using this segment using VLOOKUP. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have a cell here. Let's call it member, and let's identify one of these random members. Let's do, I don't know, the W12 by 96. Okay. What I want is I want it to be able to spit out the data. Let's do weight, PLF, and area, square inches. Okay, close that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this formula called VLOOKUP. Okay, now what VLOOKUP does is it looks for a value in the leftmost column of the table and then reports the associated value that you're interested in. So here's what I mean. So we're going to look up this value in this table. Okay, and so notice how I'm highlighting the data. And what I meant earlier is that where I said the labels were in the leftmost column, I want the lookup value to be in the leftmost column. So the lookup value for this function is going to be the section, the W12 by whatever. And then what we're going to do is, since I'm looking up the W12 by 96 in this table, the third term is what I want it to report. And what I want it to report in this case is the weight. It's the second column, because I've got three columns in this table: the shape, the weight, and the area. So we're going to report the second column, and then the last thing that you need to do is you need to enter the term false, because what it's looking for is either true or false, either an approximate match or an exact match. And since we're actually matching the label, I want it to be an exact match, so we'll call it false. And then when you press enter, you can see it's reporting the weight. And what I can do is I can copy and paste this entire formula here, and instead of looking up column 2, I can look up column 3, and now it's reporting the area. So for instance, if you look right here, here's the shape. It's a 96 pounds per foot, and the area is 28.2. And so one of the values is if I go in, instead of W12 by 96, I say, no, I want the W12 by 22. Bam, it automatically knows to change the associated data. Now, the downside to how I have this set up right now is that I'm having to type out the sections. Okay, so I'm gonna adjust this a couple of different ways. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to go into this formula, and I'm going to use the F4 key to lock in the table. There's a reason for that you're gonna see here in a second. So we'll lock in the table. But in order to ensure that I don't have to type a bunch of stuff out, I'm going to use this thing called data validation. So what data validation does is it ensures that the contents of a given cell match certain constraints that you place on it. So we're going to go to the W12 by 22, and I'm going to go to data, the data tab here up top, and then if you look here where it says data tool, there's this data validation button here. And we're going to do data validation here. And so what we're going to do for this W12 by 22 is instead of allowing anything in that cell, we're going to specify that it has to come from a given list. And the list, I'm going to click this source, is going to be this column. Okay, so I only want the contents of that cell to come from that column. And it does something pretty cool. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit OK. Okay, and if you notice here on the cell, it has a little drop down. So now I don't even need to type it out. All I can do is go down here, and I can say W12 by 79, and boom, it changes the values. And the real kicker here is, remember earlier how I locked in the cells, and I locked in the cells? What I can do is I can copy and paste this to my heart's content, and I can change that, I can change that, I can change that, I can change that, and it will change the associated cells. And so the value here is what I can do is, instead of looking at this one member at a time, I can say, okay, give me this data, so I'm actually moving the cells, and what I'm going to do is set this up like I was doing a virtual work calculation, and then all I need to do is, okay, let's say it's deflecting too much, let's change that member, boom, and it automatically updates everything. Let's change this member, boom, that associated row is updated. So with a little bit of fine-tuning in Excel, you can make your life much easier in terms of cross-referencing data. I hope this helps out as you're doing your project computations. And that's all I've got.